We are Rogue Media Sports.
Oh, man. Thanks, someone. It's something. It's the Cam Show on Rogue Media Sports Network. Zach Burke alongside Cam Stewart, bringing it to you like we do every weekday, 11 a.m. Central Time, live on YouTube, and then wherever you get your podcasts is where we're available. We're looking at a Patriots exciting matchup against the San Francisco 49ers. I don't know why I went into a lisp there, but it's probably the most lopsided line the Patriots will have all year as they take on San Francisco on the road, 4:25 or 4:05 Sunday afternoon. We're going to break down that, preview that coming up in just a minute here. And then I want to get Zach's favorite snacks. That was the topic of discussion. There was actually that and something that I probably shouldn't have said. Not a terrible thing I said, but probably not a good thing.
Yeah.
Can I break down the story?
If you want to, yeah. I mean, it is your show.
So I'm at trivia last night. Oh, and by the way, humongous controversy in trivia last night.
Okay.
Humongous. Let's get the humorous part of it out. Hopefully humorous part of it out of the way first. So it's at a brewery here in town, and they don't serve food at this place, but they get a big crowd on trivia night. So what they do is they bring in like a food truck. In this case, it's barbecue, and you could go and order. The guy's got the whole like card thing, whatever. And I go up there. I'm pretty high on an edible, pretty high. It's been a long week. Wanted to de-stress and go to trivia, but I'm hungry because of it. And they have the mac and cheese there that you would get at like a barbecue place. It's awesome, man. Cheesy, a little rubbery. I love that shit. And it's like $3. So I go and buy it. And again, very high. I had said this at some point to all the people at my table who are all white. And that's going to come back into this because the guy who does it, he's there all the time. Super nice dude. He's a black guy. And I bought it off him and I said, "Thank you, my brother." And just like went away. And I was like, as soon as I turned around, I was like, fuck. Like, I probably said that to everyone at my table that night, but I was like, that was probably sounded really stupid to say. Probably Zach, can I get a verdict on that?
Yeah, probably a little bit.
Oh my God. I feel so bad. The dude's so nice and he'll like ask you about your day and stuff. And you know, he's obviously running a small business that's like a passion project because you know, there's not a ton of money to be made in the food industry. So, you know, he loves this stuff and his food's really good. And I was like, God damn, why did I do that?
And that's how you repay him.
Yeah. And I wanted to go up to him and be like, "I'm sorry, dude. I'm high as shit. I didn't mean this to sound like any kind of appropriation or anything like that. I'm not woke like Zach is, but I didn't want it to sound like that because he probably like as soon as I turned around, he's probably like, fucking like fuck this guy, man. But I'm probably not because he's a nice guy. But I did feel bad about that.
Well, it says something that you at least felt bad, right?
Yeah.
You haven't lost all your shred of decency yet.
Well, sure, man. Sure, and it could have been like worse like I could have just said not even like a racial thing, but I could have just said worse things in general, just being high. I could have just been like, "Thanks, motherfucker." Or like something like that, you know what I mean? Yeah. I could have been like, "This is fucking great shit," or something like that. I don't know. I could have, or I could have been awkward. I don't know. Anyway, huge controversy in trivia last night. I got to break down how they do this before I go into this Patriots thing, because this is more important if we're being quite honest. So the top 3 teams in this trivia, there's like 10 teams. The top 3 get gift cards, and they do it kind of weird. So the third place team, they want to reward the small teams. So they do third place based on the most points per player.
Okay.
So the team that gets the third most points isn't necessarily going to finish in third place.
Okay. That makes sense.
If there's a team of 2, you know what I mean? And they're like, "Oh, that's really impressive." So that's how they do that. That's important because they go through the list they announce a third place winner with a team of 2, and then they announce a 3-way tie for first place. Yeah.
Wait, well,
So a 3-way tie for first here. And we are one of those teams. We are tied for first. Nobody has more points than us of any team. But one of the teams that tied for first also only has 2 players. You following me here?
yeah.
So normally you'd have a tiebreaker to find out 1, 2, and 3. But one of the teams tied for first only has 2 players, which means they should, in theory, automatically get third in some way. But I'm thinking, well, they should still be able to win.
Mm-hmm.
They still should be able to get the tiebreaker. And for some reason, I still don't have an explanation for the host, who we've never played with before. He has a tiebreaker between the two people teams, and they do a tiebreaker question, and then he says, okay, we're done. One of the 2-man teams gets second, the other 2-man team gets third, and one of the teams that was tied for first, who had less players than us, gets first. And we got fourth. How does that make any sense? No team had more points than us. We tied for first, and somehow we got fourth. A 2-man team who had less points than us just got to be ahead of us. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And for some reason, they just eliminated us.
Were y'all the biggest group out of all the teams?
Of the 3, yes.
Okay.
We were 6. There was a 5 and a 2. And so and that's never been a part of the rule of, like, you can't, like, there's no limit on how big your team can be.
Yeah.
They don't do a tiebreaker based off, like, the smaller team gets it. That's not how they do tiebreakers. And so they just said, okay, we'll battle these 2 second place or these 2 2-man teams, and whoever wins and loses will be second and third. But, like, how do we get just ushered out of the tiebreaker?
Yeah. I'm not following that one
That
fully.
makes no sense. No sense at all. We got totally boned, man. We got totally screwed. And I'm like, I was like laying awake at night trying to, and I knew I was high, but I was like, I can't make rhyme or reason of this. And the morning after, the first thing I thought about when I woke up this morning, I still couldn't. It makes no sense. We came in fourth. Nobody had more points than us, and we came in fourth. So what I was thinking, Zach, was, all right, do a tiebreaker between the 2 third-place teams if that's what you want to do. I personally don't agree with that, because the 2-man team tied for first. Like, they should be in the tiebreaker. They should have a chance to get first place. But if you're going to do a tiebreaker for the third-place teams, then we should just have a bye to the second round. You know what I'm saying?
And you should still get the tiebreaker for first, then.
Right. So then you figure out who is third between those 2 teams. One of them moves on to the second tiebreaker in order to play for first. But even that doesn't make sense, because the third place team, the original third place team, doesn't have as many points as the other 2-man team. But they didn't even do that. They just said, no, you guys are fourth for some reason. Like, I'm kind of bullshit about that. All right, it was the first time we went in a month because football season is nuts, but we go all the time. And, like, we give a lot of money to that place. And that's gift cards on the line. That's money. Like, I'm kind of bullshit about that. Like, we didn't even get a chance. We didn't even get a chance. And meanwhile, this team with 5 players, 1 less than us, who's tied for first, just automatically gets first for doing nothing. For doing nothing for a tiebreaker. Like, we should be duking that out for first place. It's not their fault. It's the guy's fault. I don't know where this came from.
Do you think maybe he just forgot about you guys?
I don't know. Like, he admits, he was like, oh, yeah, it's kind of weird. I messed it up. It's kind of a weird thing here. And we're all at the table like, no, it's not. Just do a tiebreaker. Just a 3-way tiebreaker. And that's what we all thought. We were, like, sticking around. And then he was like, oh, no, you guys came in fourth. The dumbfounded look on your face says it all, Zach.
Yeah, I don't know how to.
I can't make any heads or tails of it. I can't even make the coin of it. It doesn't make any sense to me. I'm kind of still ripshit about this.
I can tell it's been in your craw for a bit. Then
I'll be thinking about that all weekend. I will be thinking about that through this whole show.
is it gonna fuel you for next trivia night?
I mean, yeah. This is the biggest controversy since my senior year of college when I was accused of cheating at trivia.
Ooh,
Oh man, I was really bullshit. There's a guy who hosted trivia here in our beautiful town of Waco, Texas, who has tried to work with Rogue Media before that nobody likes. And including Mike does not like him. It was me and my college roommate. We were just sitting at the bar, 2-man trivia team. We love trivia, as you can maybe tell. I definitely do. And we would do pretty good. I mean, we would occasionally finish in the top 3. There were teams of like 8 or 10 or 12, and we really held our own. And my mom really likes trivia. And so that would like I would text my mom, hey, I'm at trivia. Like at the end of this category, I'd be like, oh, you would have loved this thing. Or so I was texting my mom, and he comes over to us and he goes, I saw you go right down to your phone after that question was asked. Your guys' points are not going to count tonight. I was like, what the fuck? And I was like, oh no, like I'm just texting my mom. Like you can look. And he's like, no, the only rule is no cheating. Your points don't count. Not like, hey man, cut it out or something. Your points don't count. And I was like mad. I was a couple drinks in. I was mad. I can't do trivia just stone cold sober, if you could tell. And so the next week, I assembled a team. I did an Avengers thing. Okay. I got people from all adjacent and inside my friend group of all different majors, autistic special interests, just general knowledge. Like I got a science person. I got someone pre-med. I got someone in law school. I had this team of like 8 people, and we were so well-rounded. And we unofficially set the points record at that establishment the next week. Fucking crushed everyone. We missed like one question the whole time. And I just shoved it in the guy's face. I was like, go fuck yourself. Cheat that, bitch. It was like it would be like if the Patriots actually won the Super Bowl after Spygate. Like they went undefeated and just ran the whole table. Now they did go win the Super Bowl after Deflategate, which is awesome. But that's what it was like. Like, fuck you. This is how wicked smart we are. Anyway, speaking of the Patriots, this is oof. I think it could get ugly on Sunday, and I've thought that the whole week. But lest we forget, the 49ers are not in a great way right now. They're 1-2, but just looking at their injury situation, it's not great for San Francisco. Brock Purdy's still completing, 72% of his passes or whatever he is. He's still great at that. But Deebo Samuel, doubtful. You've heard of him.
Mm-hmm.
George Kittle, questionable. Trent Williams, questionable.
Heard of all those guys.
Yeah, they're all pretty good. McCaffrey obviously not playing and
over
might
in
not play
Germany
for a
last
couple
time.
weeks. Yeah, he's supposed to come off IR after this week, but that might not happen. So the 49ers are hobbling, and besides that, like their defense has not played well at all this year. And all those injuries I just gave you are on the offensive side of things. Now, they have played Aaron Rodgers, Sam Darnold, who's going through a renaissance right now, and Matthew Stafford. But if you look deeper into that, it was Darnold's second start in however many years. It was Aaron Rodgers after a full year layoff and, almost 2 years, or a year and a half since he's played more than a quarter of a game. And Matthew Stafford without his top 2 receivers. No Puka Nacua in that game. San Francisco, the 49ers had all the fans in that stadium in LA, and they still lost. So there are some weaknesses to the San Francisco team right now. And what it reminds me of, Zach, is this exact discussion we had the Friday before week 1. And I said, look, Cincinnati's a good team. Well, I thought they were a good team. But look at what Jamar Chase hasn't practiced. He's been holding out, and they weren't sure if he was going to play in that game. He did, was completely ineffective. T. Higgins out. Joe Burrow just coming back from injury, and I was like, hey, there's a window for the Patriots here, and they went on and won that game. This still, with all those injuries, and the way the 49ers defense is playing right now, it is the 5th time since the year 2000 the Patriots are double-digit underdogs. Wow. And they are 10-point dogs still after all that. Man, that stinks. And an interesting note for like Pete and Corey gambling. The Niners are 3-7 against the spreads in their last 10 games as a home favorite. And the Pats are 12-8 to the under, dating back to last season. Hammer the under with this team. They're going to get historic over-unders this year and still hammer the under in the Patriots games throughout the whole year. But it's the injuries on offense, but it's really been the Niners defense that's let them down at the end of games. They allowed an average opponent passer rating of 101.5, 6th worst in the league. So still, through all their injuries on offense, it's the defense that sucked for San Francisco. Now, this does sound also similar to what I brought to the table last week, Zach, which was, look how shit the Jets are against the run. This is going to play right into the Patriots' hands. Maybe expect an upset on Thursday Night Football. That did not happen. The Patriots didn't even get in the freaking end zone one time. And it was a blowout for the Jets. That could have been worse than 24-3 for the Patriots. So each of the 3 quarterbacks they faced, the 49ers, even with the caveats we threw in there, are all better than the Patriots offense and the Patriots quarterback situation. Even off the, almost year and a half since he played more than a quarter of an NFL game, Aaron Rodgers is better than Jacoby Brissett. Sam Darnold is better than Jacoby Brissett. Matthew Stafford, without his top 2 wide receivers, is better than Jacoby Brissett. So this feels like a game where the Niners get right back on track, because I'm not going to get bit in the ass like I did last week about actually believing the Patriots had a chance against the Jets because of that Jets run game. I find it doubtful. You want to talk about an injury report? Questionable, doubtful. I have both those feelings about the Patriots' chances of winning. Very doubtful. I hope they get in the end zone this time. That would be pretty cool. But when this defense isn't forcing turnovers, I think that's the make or break for them. You know, they hung around with Seattle, who's now 3-0, and curb stomp Miami. Like, they hung around with them, but the difference between the other two games and that Cincinnati game is they forced turnovers in the Cincinnati game. They took points off the board from Cincinnati, and they couldn't do it with the other two teams. They, fumble at the goal line. They force a fumble for a short field on special teams. Hunter Henry makes a big play in the end zone to prevent an interception in the end zone. So, like, all of those things really help manufacture a Patriots victory. They haven't had that in the two games since. So that's the difference here. And you're going against a quarterback who does not turn the ball over very much. So, yeah, you might not have Deebo Samuel and George Kittle out there. You still will have Brandon Ayuk. You will still have Brock Purdy. And you will still have Kyle Shanahan on that sideline. And that is not a good matchup if you're the Patriots. And if you just look at Kyle Shanahan versus Gerard Mayo, really not great. Kyle Shanahan's play calling versus DeMarcus Covington. Advantage San Francisco. City So questionable for this one. Has been in practice. Maybe some reinforcements for that offensive line, but still not really where you need it. You need it at left tackle. Christian Gonzalez questionable, which is kind of a new one. And Hunter Henry limited at practice. I think he'll play, but that's your most effective pass catcher out there, Hunter Henry. If I think about this Patriots offense for more than like 5 seconds, I start to get an ulcer. It's like, did you watch Madam Web? Did you see Madam Web, Zach?
No, I heard it was awful.
Oh my God, it was so bad, but funny bad.
But so I will probably watch it at one point in time just because it's one of those movies.
Great, but I think about that because when I saw it in theaters, again, I remember having this thought about the movie that was such a great compliment for a shitty movie, which is if I thought about anything happening in the plot for more than about 5 seconds, you would realize it makes no sense. That's how I feel about the Patriots offense. If I think about it for more than just like a random guttural, like I start to lose my mind. I get sad thinking about the Patriots offense for more than just a couple of seconds. So I'm trying not to. Unfortunately, I will have to watch 3 hours of it on Sunday. This feels like a get-back game for the San Francisco defense. By far the easiest assignment they've had so far this year. And that's why I am picking a 49ers victory. Hate to do it. Fifth time in 25 seasons that they have been double-digit dogs, man. And, like, how many of those have happened the last 2 seasons?
Probably most of them.
4? Like, yeah. Genuinely, they were never, like, I could count on one hand, like, from when I first started watching every down of Patriots football in 2006 till the time Brady left, that's 14 seasons. Like, I could count on one hand how many times they were, like, real dogs. Like, it just never happened. It never happened. They might have been against Houston when Jacoby Brissett came in 2016. That was the Brady suspension. Jimmy G was hurt. Jacoby Brissett has to start this game, and they won 27-0. It's a great game. But other than that, man, like, it just never happened. They never lost back-to-back games. They very rarely lost in December. They didn't lose when they had leads in the fourth quarter, and they weren't ever underdogs, let alone double-digit underdogs. But here we are now. If you can believe it, Zach, the dynasty is over. So I have the Niners winning this one. Again, not a huge runaway, but I'll go 27-7.
Oof.
And, by the way, I think we see Drake Maye again in this game. He's obviously not going to start, but I think you see Drake Maye before the end of this game. I think the coaching staff specifically, and it might not be the GM or Alex Van Pelt, but I think Gerard Mayo wants Drake Maye to play. Just the way he's kind of handled the situation, the way he's talked about it, I think there's probably a battle of attrition going on in the front office and the coaching staff to figure out who is going to be the starting quarterback here. And I think, just a hunch, that Gerard Mayo actually wants to play Drake Maye, see what they've got here. And, it's not going to be pretty, but, we can try to build up his confidence on the sideline after, at some point it's going to need to happen.
Yeah.
And we talked about this a few days ago. Next week against Miami, that's not a bad rollout if you have to do that. You're going up against a team that has Tim Boyle as their quarterback right now next week. Why not? I know that doesn't change the defensive things, and Miami can get to the passer, but anyone's going to be able to get to the passer against the Patriots. Anybody. Okay, Perkins School for the Blind can get after the passer if they're going up against the New England Patriots. Rockland High can get up against the passer against the Patriots. So it's going to happen no matter what. He's going to have to go out there at some point and start this season. Like, it's going to have to be like that. Mahomes didn't, but that's because Alex Smith was ahead of him, who's better than Jacoby Brissett. So, again, ton of respect for what Brissett's given them this year. I said it the other day. He doesn't make bad plays worse. He doesn't take as many sacks as he probably should, or as the Patriots probably should have on their record this year. He hasn't turned the ball over once. He's taken a lot of hits and handling it very professionally, very classily. But at some point, and he knows this, the team knows this, at some point you got to have Drake Maye out there as a starter. I am beginning to wonder if he's got some loser touch to him. He goes in at the end of that blowout game against the Jets, and then Saturday he goes to his alma mater, North Carolina, and they give up 53 points in the first half of a game to James Madison, the most points they've ever given up in a first half ever. And there's Drake Maye, sideline pass. Oh, I think you'll see him at some point this week against San Francisco. I don't think the Patriots will win the game, and I think there's a very real possibility that we're in here on Monday morning saying this kid's going to start next week against Miami. I think there's that possibility. There's a few Celtics things I want to get into, and I do want to ask Zach about, like, probably my favorite television show of all time. That is coming up on the Cam Show, powered by Rogue Media Sports Network. sports. I'm just gonna start doing it myself.
You want me to do that for you too?
I mean, look, it would be nice.
Cam, sports.
As much as I don't like copying Pete Souza. No Pete Souza today. He's on the road. He's got a hell of an event this weekend. I know. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it. He's got a big secret event this weekend that you will, I'm sure, see very soon. And Pete's getting a bag for it, I heard. So
Yeah,
good for
good on
Pete,
him.
man. Good for Pete. He's been saying, he wishes he gets more football games, but now he gets an opportunity like this.
Yeah. Hey,
He's been calling volleyball all week.
do you not like volleyball?
No.
Okay.
No. In fact, Mosley the other day asked me on the air, he was saying, if you have to go to either a softball game live or a volleyball game live, like what would you rather go to? And I said the concession stand. I just don't have any interest in it.
I get it. I learned more about, because I didn't know much about volleyball, and watched some last year and stuff and kind of got into it a bit. Like it's an entertaining sport.
And like that's fine, man.
And
I
it's
get it. I don't have anything
yeah.
against
No.
volleyball.
I'm not saying you do. I'm just.
But there are some people, like now volleyball is becoming kind of big at Baylor because they're good pretty frequently. Like their coach is really good, nice guy and everything. And so people are like I'll go to these high school football games, and most of our staff are Baylor kids, and they will talk about the volleyball team, and I'll just be like,
I don't know.
yeah, I'm just be like, come on, man, sack up. What are we doing? Which is not the right attitude for it. But I can't do it. And honestly, part of it is just the sports overload that I have in my life. I follow so many damn sports and sports teams that I really don't have room for volleyball, softball, the WNBA. You're noticing some things in common here.
Yeah.
College baseball, I used to be way into. I don't really follow much of that anymore. College hockey, I haven't been able to follow as closely, just the accessibility thing. When I was back home in the Boston area, man, I freaking loved. I still love college hockey, but I could keep up with it so much easier. And I loved going to games a lot. I used to go to the Bean Pod every year. So it's not just women's sports. But I've kind of hit my limit. I get pretty all into all the four major sports, and college football and college basketball. I'm just way into, plus soccer. Like that's about enough for me. I don't know that I can take any more. I'm not going to do cricket. We've already talked about it. I can't really do the Olympics, and I can't do esports. None of that shit. I can't do obviously NASCAR, horse racing, golf is a big one that all my friends are into. I can't. I don't know how to play golf. I find it pretty boring to watch. I understand why people like it, but I don't get it. I don't understand why people like Pink Floyd, though.
Whoa, hold on.
Yeah. Most things I don't like, I can understand why people like. I don't really get the Pink Floyd thing.
For somebody who gets as high as much as you do.
Yeah. But I'm also not a huge jam guy.
Yeah. No, I think it's more that.
I listen to the
That's the thing is I'm not it's odd because I'm not big into there's some Grateful Dead songs or even like Fish. I'm just like, eh. But Pink Floyd was, I don't know. There's a lot of songs actually I can appreciate about them. They're kind of on that level with Led Zeppelin to me.
I'm also not a Led Zeppelin guy.
Yeah, that's fine.
There you go.
I mean, it's each his own.
There are very few jam things that I'm into, which would be the Doors, and the Stone Roses' first album has a lot of jam to it, which I think is one of the best albums ever made. So, yeah, not into it. Sorry,
All right, huh.
Not into it. You see, Detroiters is on Netflix now.
No,
or it's coming to Netflix.
I never watched Detroiters.
Dude,
I know
Detroiters
obviously
is pretty good.
Yeah.
It's not I Think You Should Leave, which I think is, literally, it's my favorite comedy show of all time.
Of all time.
Yeah. Let alone sketch comedy. Yeah.
It is really good.
It's unbelievable. And have you ever tried to show that to other people?
Yeah.
You can
always,
learn a lot about a person, whether they like I Think You Should Leave or not. Because it doesn't make any sense, man. It's completely absurdist.
But I love that about it.
And it's something that Grace and I really get on board with together, sober or high. And she has tried to show it to her family, and they don't get it at all. but they really like Coffin Flop.
Which one? Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
No, that one
TV.
is hilarious. Yeah.
Which is great. But it's, I think I heard this question yesterday of like, what is the most divisive TV show? And the way they were describing it's kind of like what we're describing here in terms of like, maybe not like polarizing so much as like, you either get it or you don't.
Yeah.
And there's obviously a bunch of those that you like, that Mike likes, that probably a few that I like as well.
Yeah.
But
There's like in
right
the
top
Venn
of that.
diagram, there's places we all overlap.
Yeah.
And I think you should leave
and
as one
Mike
of
have
them.
more of an overlap than I do in that regard.
Yeah.
By
But
the way,
oddly enough, the two of you talk, and sometimes I feel like y'all click more on a comedy level, which is weird.
yeah, like just a
Not
riff,
weird.
like a
I'm just
riffing thing.
yeah.
Yeah, I get
So
that.
it's
Mike
like,
has helped me with my stand-up.
Yeah, there's all like different places in this Venn diagram where I think it works out for everybody.
I know I keep saying it. We gotta find a place in the next like 2-3 weeks here to debut that stand-up.
Do you want we can move the screen out of the way so you have like the wood background, and we'll put a stand in front of you so it kind of looks like it.
One of those like neon signs. That's
Yeah.
Rogue Sports Network.
Yeah, if we could raise that up a bit. Well, I was just saying it without it, so
Yeah.
it just looks like you're in front of like, the Laugh Factory.
Right, exactly. Oh my gosh, dude.
Would you debut your material here then?
On the show? On this
Yeah.
show? Maybe. I do want the awkwardness of the audience.
Fair enough.
So, have I talked about it on this show? I don't know that I have.
I
In
thought
detail.
I know we talked about it, or you and Pete talked about it on his show.
Probably. Yeah. So the whole general point is to like it's not supposed to be funny. It's supposed to be funny in a very ass backwards way. I would love to start doing jokes and not finish them, or just give the most basic responses ever. And so I'm going to try it out in Waco, Texas, man. And Mike's like, are you going to get uncomfortable if nobody laughs? And I'm like, no, I expect nobody to laugh. I expect like one guy who's kind of half paying attention to just be like, this guy. And I can't wait to use that material. I wouldn't mind doing something on the show.
What if we could, when you finally debut this, and we'll have to talk to Mike to figure it out. But once you debut this set at like a open mic, we find a way to just tape that open mic, and that's what we end up playing a bit of then.
Yeah.
So people can see it.
Day, so we can just air that on the show.
Yeah. Like we'll go out the night before, do it, and
yeah, that needs to happen sooner rather than later. It's so fucked up, the schedule. That's so fucking fucked up, as Tim Robinson would say. It's so fucked up during football season schedule. I know I bitch about that a lot, and I'm trying not to, but we should find a time for that.
Hell yeah.
We should find a time for that. Maybe Tim Robinson notices me. And I leave all you bitches behind.
I think we're going to have to get him to come to the show somehow, though.
We should. We had tickets. Grace and I had tickets to go see him live. I think you should leave thing live. So it was him and Zach and a couple of the other regulars. She had gotten the tickets for me for our anniversary, and they canceled the show. It was in Dallas. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me, dude. I was so excited for it. It was on 420, which also did interfere with the Bruins playoff game. So maybe good we didn't. And I'm just going to tease this too. Speaking of the Rogue Network and Zach and Mike and myself, we're putting together something. We're putting together something that revolves around a huge passion for all of us. And two great passions of both of us that are snacks and shitty movies.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be a little Mystery Science Theater 3000-ish.
Yeah.
Adjacent.
That's how I always view. Yeah, that's how I always kind of view it in a way.
Because if you come around here, you come into the studio before we get the camera rolling, it's a lot of talk about shitty movies.
Yeah.
Shitty commercials, shitty TV, shitty acting, shitty comedy, all kinds of that.
We love bad stuff.
We do. To a fault sometimes. To a fault where sometimes you're watching it and you're like, damn, man, I just watched 4 hours of pure dog shit.
Yep.
That I'll never get back. But it is like my favorite thing to do is watch shitty movies. The Celtics. Thoughts?
Just in general on the team? I don't know. You just kind of put me on the spot. I didn't have any at this time.
That's how I'm gonna open the stand up, by the way.
Oh, just in general, I like that because you will have a lot of that probably, or just a lot of angry Mavericks fans.
Probably like, how about Diet Coke, huh?
Woo!
Yeah, I get some middle-aged fat women like, yeah, woo. And I'm like, you go, girl. And then that's it. And then I go to the next joke. Anyway, the Celtics. It's been the week of, if it wasn't already the summer and months of Celtics optimism, this is the week of Celtics optimism. This is the week of getting on your knees and filleting the Celtics for how great they are. It's unless you work for ESPN, in which case you just want to talk about how they suck. But I say that to say it's the opening of training camp. We had media day the other day. We had some sound from Jason Tatum, and the only guy who has written anything remotely nice about the Celtics for ESPN the last week, Zach Lowe, just got canned. Like that's like literally, it might have been his last piece on ESPN.com was about the Celtics. And like the next day they're like gone. We can't have none of that around here. Kendrick Perkins complained to management. We can't have that. So it's been weird, but I've kind of talked about that ad nauseum, like, right. Just how weird it's been the last few months and specifically the last few weeks of just like, why are they trying to bring this guy down so much? You know what I mean? Like it's bizarre to me. And they won 80 games last year. They bring everyone back. They have got their whole starting five under contract for the next 2 seasons. Like, why are we trying to say that they're not good enough or trying to say that teams aren't afraid of the Celtics? And Kendrick Perkins' reasoning was because they're pros. It's like, okay, but you know what we mean. Like, nobody wants to play the Celtics. Everyone is chasing the Celtics. You see what the Knicks did to go and try to compete with the Celtics? By the way, the more I think about the Knicks, the less I'm sold on them. I just they get rid of Hartenstein, Hartenstein, however you say it.
Yeah.
Who was a pretty big piece for them. And now he's gone. You don't have the depth at center, and your center is Mitchell Robinson, a guy who always gets hurt. Like the Celtics traded Rob Williams for a reason. I loved Rob Williams when he was on the floor. But he was one where like you never had the depth there. So you got to get rid of Rob Williams and you bring in Porzingis, who also is, let's be fair, oft injured. But you made your team better by doing that. And the Knicks, you get Mikal Bridges. That's a good deal.
That's a solid pick for them.
You signed OG Anunoby through a while, but it's like Jalen Brunson is an all-NBA player. And then they have 5 or 6 like nice players.
You still got Julius Randle.
Correct. Julius Randle's coming back. Nice player. Dante DiVincenzo and Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby. Nice players. But who is like that second guy? Because we look at the last 5 or 6 champions, and that's going back to the Warriors, who all obviously had 3 great options at that time. But they all had 2 legit all-NBA options. And that was, Giannis and Drew Holiday. That was Kawhi and Kyle Lowry. That was Steph and Clay in 22. That was Jokic and Murray in 23. That was Tatum and Brown and like 3 other legit guys right after that for the Celtics. And I don't know. Maybe OG steps into that. But I think there's some concern with the injury history on this Knicks team and how they would match up with the Celtics. Milwaukee. Everyone talks about Milwaukee. Miss me with Milwaukee, dude. 2 Hall of Famers, so that fits my criteria there. But they got so much worse defensively when they brought in Dame Lillard. They went from, it was like the 6th total defense in Drews last year there to 19th last year. They fired their coach in the middle of the season after he had just gotten there. And they didn't make their team any better in the offseason. So why am I hearing about Milwaukee? God, I am not concerned about Milwaukee. No fucking way. Philadelphia, did they get better? I mean, yeah. I'm really not on this Paul George train the way other people are. I don't think that's like this grand heist that they're bringing in Paul George. In fact, the hype around it reminds me of when the Celtics had to let Kyrie walk, but went and signed and trade for Kemba Walker. And it was like, they'll pick up right where they left off. And it's like, well, no, Kemba's not as good a player as Kyrie. And he gets hurt a lot. And that was just starting to happen in Charlotte, to be fair. It's not like it was his whole career, but we were just starting to see that with Kemba Walker. And lo and behold, he plays 2 seasons with the Celtics, and he's hurt most of the time. Paul George is what, 35? 34? He's come off a couple of major injuries. Like, I guess it's better than kind of what you had, but it just reeks of the whole Tobias Harris over Jimmy Butler thing for me. You know, that you think you're getting better and you're really not. And now you've got 2 stars in Paul George and Joel Embiid, obviously, who get hurt a lot and have no playoff success. Neither of them have played in the conference finals, let alone anyone else on that Philadelphia team. Not worried about them either. Like, everyone is chasing the Celtics. So now I'm seeing these freaking think pieces of, should teams be afraid of the Celtics? It's like, you're damn right they should be. And I'm hearing Shaq and Udonis Haslem call out the rest of the East because what are you guys going to do? Step up. No one has made a move that I think is like, oh, shit. Here they come. Celtics, watch out. In fact, I would say maybe the Mikal Bridges one is better to me than the Paul George one. Miami did nothing. Milwaukee did nothing. Who am I as a Celtics fan afraid of? Let's get past, should a team be afraid of the Celtics? It's like, should we be afraid of anyone else? I don't know if there's a team in the East that could beat the Celtics in a 7-game series. There's always some voodoo shit around the Heat that I don't like.
That's the
as
team
you
that
saw
I
me
just...
being very uncomfortable when they played in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like Pat Riley, fuck him. The Heat, and I did say this on a very early episode of the Cam Show, I think the Heat are the only like rival team for me that I wish just didn't exist. You know, so many of the other rivals, you want to have them there. You want to play the Yankees. You want to play the Canadiens. But like Miami, I just want no part of it. I don't want them to exist. I don't think they have a good fan base. I think their culture can be bullshit. And I think they have a really great coach and a really great executive. And I hate playing them. So yeah, I'm like, I don't want the Heat to exist. But I still, with this Celtics team, I don't fear them. I don't. Because this was the first Celtics team I've seen in a while that like legitimately did not have a weakness. That's how good this team was. You can say all you want about the other teams being hurt, because that's what you'll say until the Celtics win it again this year. But they were like a flawless team through that postseason. And I don't want to keep beating a dead horse on something we've said all week, but it's just crazy to me that this is the most reaching I've ever seen talking about a team. We got to go. We got one more segment here. I got to rant about something else. I'm sorry, Zach. I went way long here. The Oakland A's are almost no more, and they have played their last game in Oakland. That pisses me off, and it probably should for just about every sports fan. That's coming up next. Baseball is done in Oakland. And that stinks. I saw a lot coming out yesterday, videos, pictures, sold out crowd at the Coliseum for the last A's home game in Oakland. And that really, really sucks. Is Oakland one of the great baseball towns in America? Probably not. But when that place gets going, it gets going. Like really gets going. And they can rock that house. And it hasn't been that way for years. And we've talked about this a little bit actually this week, Zach, but this is not the same to me as the Montreal Expos or the Minnesota North Stars or even someone like the Sacramento Kings, which haven't moved yet. But like the Buffalo Braves back in the day.
Yeah.
This to me is not a case of the fans just lost interest. You got to get them out of there. And I really hope history does not remember the Oakland A's leaving as just another casualty of fans not showing up. I really hope there's context for this team when it's remembered later on. Because, yeah, it's easy to look back the last, 6, 7, 8 years and see the, just pitiful attendance records at the Coliseum and see, 2,000 people at a Major League Baseball game or whatever it's been. And it's cavernous and it's like a terrible look for Major League Baseball, but there needs to be context to this. This is an owner and John Fisher who has not given half a shit to put out even a halfway competitive team for years now, almost a decade. And they don't have the front office that they used to have in terms of making it work. They made a movie about making it work. They don't have that anymore. And it's just a depressing franchise that is literally only cares about the bottom dollar. And I know they're not the only franchise like that, but shit, man, even Pittsburgh's building something. And it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh was a playoff team.
They kind of fucked Rowdy Tellez this year, though.
Yeah, they did. That was shitty.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. Like the A's are not the only poorly run team that cares more about the bottom dollar than a competitive team. But even Pittsburgh locked up Brian Hayes. They're going to do it with Paul Skeens.
Yeah.
Oakland has not done that for a long time. And it's really, really sad. This is, to me, the ultimate betrayal to your fans, to not care even a little bit, to put out a competitive team, to try to get them to pay for a new ballpark for you, and then pull the team out of there away from them when you don't get it. It sucks. It all around sucks. And you saw there was a great picture of an old guy who had a sign. He said, I was here for the first pitch in Oakland in 1968. I'm here for the last one in 2024. And I mean, you've seen the ballpark. It was sold out.
Yeah.
And the videos of the people just sticking around for an hour and a half after the game, the people crying. I saw this one. I almost cried looking at this tweet last night. It was a guy on the grounds crew who had been on the Oakland Coliseum grounds crew for over 30 years. And he's cleaning up the field one last time, watering down the infield one last time. And they had to help him off the field. Someone had to walk with him off the field. He didn't want to leave. Think about that. That's your whole life, man, is maintaining a field for this baseball team for 30 years. I mean, that's your career. And it's just gone. He didn't retire. He didn't do something to deserve to get fired. They're just taking it away. And I think about what it would be like if one of my teams just got taken away. Thankfully, I'm very lucky. It's probably not ever going to happen in Boston. It came pretty close in the 90s with the Patriots before my time. And that would have been the closest that they ever would have come. The Braves moved out of Boston in the 50s, but that would be the ultimate betrayal. I don't know if I could ever be a fan of that sport the same way. You know what I mean? Like if the Red
Yeah.
Sox left, I wouldn't watch baseball. I'd feel so bitter.
I think I was kind of lucky in a way that I was young enough when the Oilers left.
Yes, yeah.
Because I was
Oilers
like,
guy.
I was an Oilers fan as a kid. Part of that was just because I wanted to be contrarian compared to all the Cowboys fans, but still, like, I liked, Warren Moon, and then later on Steve McNair and Eddie George, who were both Oilers in Houston
Cody
before they
Carlson?
moved to. Yeah, he was a backup there.
They were backup.
Well, I mean, more than that, but
Mostly.
yeah. But so when they left, it was awkward as like a young kid of just like, oh, they don't play in my state anymore. But then I was just a fan of them in another state. Like it's still the same team because it was like the Tennessee Oilers.
Right.
So it's like, all right, so it's still the same team. And then when they rebranded, I think that's when it hit me more of like, okay, I
It's
don't
not my
have a
team
team anymore. Yeah.
And I wonder if you would have even felt differently if you were like 15 when they moved.
Oh, I'm sure I would have
Like
had
it might have been even tougher to beat the Tennessee Oilers.
a more in-depth. I would have had a more personal connection by that time, I feel like.
Yeah. Like that, there is just nothing worse in sports, man. Like none of your soul-crushing losses on the field are worse than losing your actual team. And again, it's not Chicago or Boston or St. Louis or New York in terms of a baseball town, but it's really not that bad. And it's not nearly as bad as the attendance figures you've seen the last few years. And that just like that really sucks, man. I was like getting emotional looking at this stuff yesterday. I don't give a shit about the A's really, but these are people. There are people who've been coming there for decades, and all of a sudden just gone. You're just going to take it away. And I mean, Oakland in general, man, they've lost all 3 of their pro sports teams in 5 years here. There's a ton of problems with Oakland right now as a city. And obviously you can't just blame the A's owner for losing all 3 franchises. There's some onus on the city there to lose all 3, but that just really sucks. And it seemed like on social media anyway, where people do get a little more sappy than in real life, on social media, like so many fan bases were rallying around this. And they have been, to be fair, like all of this year of, opposing fans when their team was playing in Oakland. Red Sox go in there, they're wearing their Red Sox jerseys, but they have signs that say sell the team. And they're actually talking about the other team this time. Like Fisher, sell. Because as much as it's a tough town with a tough reputation, and you don't see great attendance there, and it's a dump of a ballpark, they deserve better than that. They deserve so much better than that. And God, that sucks. That really, really sucks. I don't know what I would do if my team was taken away. I really don't think I could ever watch that sport. Like seriously. I could catch a game here and there. If it was the NFL, I could still watch the Super Bowl, but golly, I feel for those people today. That really sucks. And I would have done anything to get to that game if I was an A's fan.
Right.
Anything, man. If I was still in this job, but I was just an A's fan, I'd be flying out there, man, Thursday afternoon, trying to take a seat with me. Yes, absolutely. Checking it for baggage claim. Just a horrible thing. Despicable. To me, business is business, but if you're not going to get what you want to make your team profitable and as good as you want it, sell your fucking team. And it's too late now. That sucks. So feeling for the A's fans today. Oh, man. As we go into the weekend with one less Oakland team. Now down to 0 Oakland teams, man. That really sucks. I have always wanted to go to a game at the Coliseum. Baseball.
I have too.
Because I do want to go to all 30, so that's part of it. But like just the dismalness of it all. Is that a word? Dismalness?
Yeah, I get that. I mean, the stories that I heard about it, but still the fact that out in the outfield, a lot of it was tarped off. It still had a cool look to it.
Yeah. And there was something about an October game there, man. It was weird. It was funky. Those people are crazy. I would have loved to have gone there and then San Francisco like the next day, because that's like one of the most beautiful ballparks in all of baseball. I'll do something similar in Chicago, because I'll definitely do like Wrigley one day and Chicago White Sox the next, which is not as bad as the Coliseum, but it's not a great scene. It's a tough part of town. They suck, obviously. They have a chance for the loss record today, by the way. The Chicago White Sox have a chance. 3 games left in the season. They're stuck at 120, tied with the 62 Mets. Today might be the day. Zach, thank you. I know we've gone over time. Thank you for running the wheels of steel. Pete's not here today, so I got to say it. I've been Cam Stewart. We will be back on Monday breaking down this Patriots loss to the San Francisco 49ers and how well Drake Maye played in relief. That's coming up on the Cam Show Monday, 11 a.m. Central Time, high noon on the East Coast, and live on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. We'll see you then.